If life begins at 40, then the mobile phone has a lot to look forward to. It is already the powerhouse in our pockets, but it came from humble beginnings, from an engineer at a startup called Motorola, who on April the 3rd, 1973, made the first ever cell phone call publicly to assembled journalists in Midtown Manhattan. That engineer has entered the tech pantheon as a pioneer, the father of the mobile phone. And he recently divulged his story to Richard Taylor.
Marty Cooper, not a name you're likely to be familiar with. His invention, well, billions of us most intimately are. The portable cell phone, embodied first in this handset built by Marty and his team at a nimble startup called Motorola. This 2-kilo hunk of heft was the culmination of years of work, a philosophical leap of faith away from the prevailing thinking by the industry giant Bell Labs and parent company AT&T, whose vision was simply to put cell phones in cars.
For 100 years, we had been trapped in our homes, leashed to our desk by this copper wire. Now was the time to set us free, and trapping us in our cars was not an improvement. We had to create a dazzling demonstration, and that was the real reason. The real reason for creating this phone was to prove to the world that a little company like Motorola had credibility. And that's what we did in New York and in Washington. We did what turned out to be a dazzling demonstration that the time was ready for personal portable communications.
And it was using a phone very similar to this. This is essentially a replica of what you use.
That's correct.
What did you say on that first mobile phone call?
So I called my counterpart at Bell Laboratories, a fellow named Dr. Joel Engel, a very bright guy, and he ran all of the AT&T program. Very important and responsible job. And I told him, Joel, it's Marty, and I'm calling you from a cell phone, but a real cell phone. A handheld, personal, portable cell phone. And there was silence at the other end of the line, and I'm certain,
that's a bit worrying.
Knowing Joel, I'm certain that he was polite, but to this day he doesn't remember that call, and I'm not
You're sure he was actually there? There was somebody at the other end, was there?
Oh yes, there was. Yeah, I'm certain there was.
And had you given it a lot of thought before you actually made that call, what you were going to say? Was that kind of Neil Armstrong moment on the ground with mobile telephony?
It was spontaneous, and I'm sure that Joel would rather I had not had that spontaneity.
How much did you profit personally from your invention?
Well, in terms of satisfaction, enormously. When I joined Motorola, I signed a document that said that all of my future inventions were the property of Motorola, and for that they gave me $1. And it was the best bargain that I ever made. Motorola treated me very well, and the world has been very nice to me.
So here we are 40 years on, with handsets that seem to be capable of launching a spaceship, and yet some of the fundamentals about the mobile phone industry don't seem to have been addressed. Even in the so-called developed world, in the middle of a big metropolis, you get drop calls, you can't get network coverage, even in your own house, which may be, a few miles outside of a big city. Has the industry got it all wrong?
Oh, I think so. They have not attacked the fundamentals. Even today, most people around the world, and you know that well over 5 billion people have cell phones today.
Wow.
I mean, most of the people
of the world
on Earth, and most of them still talk, and the ones that don't still text.
Right.
And yet the emphasis of the carriers has been to market speed. And yet the technology exists today, and it's being adopted slowly, but more slowly than you and I would prefer, that would give us really solid coverage and increase the capacity of a system. When you in London get a dropped call, it's because somehow in the cell that you're in, you have run out of capacity. And yet the technology exists to fix that problem.
So we've talked a little bit about features of handsets and networks. Where do you see handsets and mobile phones taking us next?
There are so many things that can be accomplished when a human being is connected to the rest of the world. But the one that's most exciting to me is the medical revolution, because now we have the capability of measuring things on your body, of actually doing a physical examination every 30 seconds instead of every year or in my case, every 5 years, and actually understand what diseases are starting to form in your body before they become diseases.
That would be incredible.
People will remain healthy for most of their lives. It's going to take a generation or two, but that's going to happen. But it started already, and I want to show you some examples. One of the biggest causes of death in Western civilization is congestive heart failure. And yet, we know how to anticipate that. Congestive heart failure means you're accumulating fluid in your lungs. Here's a patch that a person can wear on their body. May have to change it out every week or so. This patch talks to your cell phone and it senses what the fluid level in your lungs is.
So the cell phone sends the data off somewhere.
And that information goes somewhere, and you get an alert maybe 6 hours before you would have had a heart attack. You pop a pill and you avoid it. Yeah.
Marty Cooper, it's been a real pleasure meeting you.
Marty Cooper talking to Richard Taylor. Now, a couple of months ago, we told you about Microsoft's attempts to join the friendly crowd with the launch of its new connections platform, Social. But does the world need yet another way to connect online? Well, we asked Kate Russell to find out, and here's her full review of Social in Webscape.
So, another one of the big tech companies wants a piece of the social pie. And with Microsoft's long pedigree, you'd think they've learned a thing or two about how to please us. But when I fired up Social for the first time, it felt more like they'd mashed together some of the best bits of what everyone else is doing, rather than coming up with anything new. Design-wise, it looks like the love child of Pinterest and Windows 8, with users creating posts on a topic and then using the integrated Bing search tool to fill it with tiles from news, pictures, videos and web streams.
You've got a friend.
This site looks very pretty, but I have to say I think Microsoft have completely missed the mark when it comes to delivering a social network. We want to share the things we want to share when we come across them. Links, thoughts, ideas, and yes, sometimes what we had for breakfast. This reverse posting where you have to think of a topic and then try and fill it with content using what is actually quite a basic search tool seems clunky and awkward. There's the usual social features like following, commenting and sharing, but no private interactions or curated groups like Google Circles, although you can check out posts sorted by interests. The last section is parties, where you can video chat and watch videos together with a group of people in real time. Google Hangouts, anyone? Launched in beta last December, I can see this having about as much long-term appeal as Google Wave. Remember that? My point exactly.
You've got a friend.
For a totally different social experience, check out this massively multiplayer online environment, Rub Patrol, where the only objective is to swim around looking for people to chat to.
Can't swim, so I took a boat to an island so remote.
It's worth noting that most chat environments like this are unmoderated, and not everybody plays nicely. This site doesn't give you the option to report other players for bad behaviour, so if someone is bothering you, just swim away from them, or close the site and come back later. And children should definitely be supervised. You can log in with Twitter if you want an @name, but I didn't much like the look of those authorisations. Or name your little wriggler whatever you like by typing name, etc. It was built by some Norwegian developers to test what they could do with the latest web programming language HTML5, and the name means tadpole in Norwegian.
Well, I play for keeps, baby.
A couple of weeks ago, Google launched Keep, a note-taking app free on Android 4.0 and above. You can record voice-to-text notes,
Make chicken stew for dinner.
snap a photo to add context, and it all syncs up to your Google Drive with colour coding to organise categories. The service is very basic right now. You can't even clip bits of web pages, so unlikely to make the likes of Evernote and SpringPad sweat much in terms of competition. But who knows what features might be added in the future. I realise I just heavily criticised Microsoft for doing nothing new, and this offering from Google is also a poor imitation of its peers, but at least it's useful. And if you don't already use a note taker, you'll probably quite like it, even though it does look suspiciously like a Windows Phone interface.
She's just a girl and she's on fire.
And give Firefox a facelift with a nice update to version 20, serving up private browsing by tab, very handy for checking multiple email addresses, an improved download manager, and the ability to close hanging plugins without shutting the entire browser.
This girl is on fire.
Kate Russell's Webscape. And those links are all available at our website if you missed them, bbc.co.uk/click. And if you'd like to get in touch about anything you've seen today, you can drop us an email, click@bbc.co.uk. You can also get hold of us on many different social networks, Google+, Facebook and Twitter, to name but 3. That's it for now though. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.